And we welcome you back to On the Hash with Hatfield. Matt Hatfield here with you from the Plex, and we're pleased to be joined by a special guest. He is the head football coach of the Kellam Knights, where he was a longtime assistant with Chris DeWitt, and now at the helm of the program, coming off a thrilling win just this past week over the Tallwood Lions. If you didn't see it, well, we'll give you a chance to see it real quickly, because this is what happened at the end of the game. They're trailing the Lions, and this was the final play with quarterback Luke Ashcraft dropping back to throw. It was a thriller there as the Knights got it done 28-26. Tyler Ellis hauling in the 13-yard touchdown pass that was tipped not once, not twice, I think 3 or 4 times at least, with a couple seconds to go. We say hello and congrats to Coach Brian Neas. You've been a part of some great games over the years at Kellam. We know about the rivalry games with schools like Cox and First Colonial. That's got to be right up there, though, Coach.
Oh, it's a great win. I mean, our kids fought all game, and we went down early, managed to rally back. And then needing to play 2 seconds left, having a sophomore quarterback throw that ball up and our senior tight end just going up and just deciding he was going to get that ball and win the game for us. That's a heck of a catch. Great play by him.
Without a doubt. A two-sport guy. I know he plays basketball as well as Tyler for Coach Norman Hassel there on the hardwood. Coach, it's interesting looking at the beach. I remember tweeting this, I think, a week or two ago, that there was 30 games played, and I think there was 18 of them decided by 8 points or less, which is essentially one possession. There's been, I think, of the first 30 games, 21 have had a deficit overcome. You've been on the good side and bad side of that. You had a game with First Colonial, looked like you got it won. You lose 27-25. You come back against Kempsville down 2 touchdowns. You win that one. You went to triple overtime with Ocean Lakes. Just speak on, as a coach, how nerve-wracking it is, but also from the fan perspective, it's got to be exciting and competitive to see these games go down to the last second, the last play oftentimes.
I keep hearing from all our, parents and fans about how much they enjoyed, watching the game and how much fun it is to come to the games. I'm going to tell you what, this season, I started the season with hair and color in my beard, and these games are kind of taking that out of me at the moment. I mean, we could easily, if we win those 2, the triple overtime game and the First Colonial game, we could easily be 5-1. By the same token, we could easily be 0-6, just being in such close games, and it's definitely putting a stress on the old ticker. But the kids have responded, and they are fighting their hind parts off.
Yeah, they really are. And it's funny. You're right. I mean, you're 1 or 2 bounces away from being like 5-1. You're 1 and 2 bounces away from being 1-5. And coming up, we'll get to your opponent. You got on Saturday on the road for their homecoming in Bayside. They play Green Run as well as anybody has all year, tied at the half, and they've had some hard luck in some games. We know that's a challenging matchup for you, but let's dive into those that aren't familiar with Brian Neas's background. We know you quite well. We've talked to you over the years, and we've seen you with Coach DeWitt. Fill the audience in a little bit about your playing days, how you got involved with coaching. I know you're an old Bruin back to the Lou Johnston days.
Yeah, I played at Western Branch, graduated 89, went to Milliam and Mary to try and play, and that didn't work out too well. So I just started, I went back to school and started working on my education stuff. I was assigned as a student teacher to Bayside Middle School. And lo and behold, my cooperating teacher was Chris DeWitt. And at the time, middle school football was in the spring. This is back in, I think, 96. And I said, hey, man, you need some help with the middle school team. And he asked me if I knew anything about football, and I told him my experience. He said, yeah. And so the next year I got hired on as a teacher in Virginia Beach, and I coached in the fall at Bayside High School under Bill King for the varsity football team. And then in the middle school, I was an assistant on the Bayside middle school team. And then Bill King resigned. So Robert Jackson got that job at Bayside, so I moved over to Salem High School to be an assistant varsity football coach under Tim O'Reilly while he was in town, and continued to coach middle school football in the spring. And then in 99, Chris applied for the head job at Kellam, and he got it, and I transferred over with him to be an assistant coach, and here I am. I haven't left since 99. And when Chris decided to retire, I kind of was left with a decision to make. Is it time for me to hang it up also? But I kind of thought I still a little bit left. I didn't want to hang the whistle up yet. I still enjoy what I'm doing. I'm still physically able to do it. So I decided just to keep going. And here I am. This is year 27, coaching varsity football here in Virginia Beach. And man, it's fun to come to work every day.
And doing a fine job. I see a lot of parallels with you all at Kellam and at Cox. Certainly, they've had a couple of coaching changes since Bill Stachelsky going from the Pro Football Hall of Famer Alan Finnick to now Tyler Noe. And I see you all at Kellam. You keep a lot of, like what Cox has done, a lot of the same staff members. You've had sort of that same familiarity. So tell us a little bit about your coaching staff, too, because I know it's not a one-man job, and especially with football being almost year-round these days, you have to really be on top of things. And I know that's helped you in a lot of ways when these close games get a little dicey down the stretch and you make a play call at the end of the game, 13 yards to go to score it, right? Or kick the field goal, those type of things. You got to make tough decisions.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, our staff, I'm going to tell you what, I'm so blessed to have the staff that I have. Many of them have been here working over 20 years, and, half of them have played for me while I was coaching here. So Chris Miller, who's the head JV coach and the assistant varsity head coach, he started in 99. He spent a little time in Texas, but he came back, and he's been on the staff for a long time. Jeff Hudson, our offensive coordinator, came on the staff in 01, and so he's been here for 20-some-odd years. Andrew Turner, who played tight end and DN for me and then played defensive end at Old Dominion. He coaches. He's been here 10 years or so. He's the defensive coordinator now. KJ Burris, DB's coach. He played for me, played at Glenview State. Joe Marquette helps out with the JV line. He played for me also. I picked up a couple newbies, I guess you could say. Terrell Smith played at First Colonial. This is his first year on the staff. Brian Branch, who is a U.S. Navy member. He's volunteering with us this year, learning the game. And then I got really lucky. I kind of lucked into this when his stepson goes to Kellam High School. But Mike Williams, who coaches our varsity O-line, he was a two-time All-American, University of Texas, number 3 overall NFL draft pick for the Bills, played for the Redskins as well. He's done a great job with our young offensive line.
Wow, that's amazing. And, I've been doing it a long time as far as covering it, Coach. When I hear the name KJ Burris, so it feels like just a few years ago, I was covered and playing for the Knights. And then I see, and correct me if I'm wrong where he is now, but I think Greg Nosal, who I remember covering years back, he's at Bowling Green as an assistant coach at the college level.
Yeah, he's been all over the place. He was a GA at Tech. He helped out at the University of Miami under Stacey Searles, and now he's the tight ends coach at Bowling Green.
That's quite a resume of guys you've all helped produce on to the next level. Now they're coaching and helping out these young kids. Well, let's get to the kids that you're helping groom right now at Kellam High School. I know before the season, and we chatted in the 7-on-7 you all run, which is just a superb event you do weekly from about May until the early portion of the summer, right before the dead period, right after the dead period ends. I'm not sure where exactly it falls out, but as far as it finishes, you were very high on your offensive line. I know they were young last year, got their feet wet, but tell me how that group has progressed, because you got one of the toughest, hard-nosed running backs in the beach right now, and David Wilk, who had 3 touchdown runs for you last week against Tallwood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with a bunch of kids that are working incredibly hard, and we've been working through some injuries this year. I have 2 senior offensive tackles right now. Will Brophy, he worked so hard, but he's had a little knee thing. He had to get a little scope done, so he's been out the last couple weeks. We're looking, hopefully he might be back last 2 games. He's working hard, rehab, and trying to get himself back. I'm going to tell you, Richie Bogart, this young man has started for me for 3 years now, and this is a tough kid. He's working really hard. My center, who's also Robert Peckham, who's also played guard and tackle. We've had to move and shift around because of injuries and absences and things. Big kid, Junior, who's playing great ball. And then last year, my project, he's from Greece. He hadn't played any football before last year. Thomas Katapotis, he's giant. He's 6'9", 310 pounds, and he never played football before. And last year we had to teach him, basically what a helmet was, how to put on his shoulder pads and all that kind of stuff. And this year he's gotten a lot of playing time, and he continues to improve. Mason Cravey, guard for me, played a lot of time. I've got another sophomore, William Smith, who is just a tough little guy that he's been thrown into the fire probably a year before he was ready, but he's responded well. And no matter what combination I have to play those kids in, they are absolutely showing up and doing the hard work to make David look good.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks might have their own Greek freak, but you got one who's a 6'9" giant there on the tackle spot. I'm sure Norm will be loving to try to get his hands on him come basketball season in the winter. But certainly with Wilk back there, what he's done running the football, I know he was key to your comeback win against Kempsville. Just tell us more about that young man and what he's done in terms of being that engine for your offense. Because if I'm not mistaken, last year, I think he was mainly just a linebacker. Then you kind of figured out once he got the ball in his hands, he can do some good things.
Well, yeah, we had he has started for me. He started for 4 years, but at different positions. When he was a freshman during that COVID season, he started at free safety. Then as a sophomore, we moved him up to strong safety. Then as a junior last year, he started off as one of our 2 inside linebackers. And then we had a couple of running backs get hurt in the preseason last year, and we ended up in a scrimmage versus Nansemond River, and we had to give David the ball. He was running like third or fourth tailback at the time because he was starting on defense. We gave him the ball, and we realized, this kid can do some things with the ball. He's got a little more wiggle than you would think with his size. And it was hard to get him out of the backfield after that. So he ended up, leading us in rushing last year, splitting time with 2 other tailbacks who also did a pretty good job. So going into this year, we knew that this was a guy that we could rely on, to carry the ball and do good things for us. He catches the ball well out of the backfield on the screen game and the quick game. And he's having a heck of a year. He dinged an ankle and missed the green run game. Otherwise, I think he'd be right close to 1,000 yards by this point of the season. He's just under 800 at the moment. But he's having a heck of a year.
Certainly is, as the Knights are 3-3 before their key matchup coming up on Saturday at Bayside, as they're currently sitting in the number 8 slot. We'll have the power ratings show up on our screen here in just a moment. And Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the passing game, you've also got Tyler catching that touchdown pass there. Luke Ashcraft is a sophomore. Your game with First Colonial to begin the year, and it was back and forth, and your air attack really gave you a chance with Ashcraft there. Tell us about him and what that's helped, that element to complement your ground game and the offensive line has done for you all in some of these tight ball games.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I keep trying to figure out when I'm going to get like an upperclassman quarterback through here. The last, 3 seasons have been sophomores. I had a sophomore start last year, Harrison Stanley. His father is in the U.S. Navy. He got transferred back to Pensacola. And so we started looking around, what do we have in-house? And I've got 5 quarterbacks, and all of them are either sophomores or freshmen. So we had some competition this summer and during the preseason, and Luke kind of stood out, especially at the first scrimmage versus Nansemond River. And, he's been doing a good job. He hasn't made, he's hitting the open receiver for the most part. He's had some growing pains, as have all of our young kids that are out there playing. But he has made some absolutely amazing throws. He's keeping us on schedule. And he's doing a good job of making sure we're all lined up and in the right spots and getting ready to do the right thing. We've got a whole bunch of young kids on the team. There's a whole bunch of sophomores playing all over the place. DeJuan Hayes has caught a really big pass against Tallwood late in the game to kind of put us in position so that we could even take that shot at the end zone to win it. He's caught a lot of big plays. I've got sophomore DBs all over the place. I mean, this is a young squad mixed in with a few very talented seniors.
With having so many underclassmen, the confidence has to be sort of sky high right now, coming off that big win over Tallwood, who, if I'm not mistaken, was second in the beach, only behind Green Run in terms of scoring offense and points per game on the year. Tell us about this defensively, some of those young pups, how they're growing up, and just the challenge that awaits for you in Bayside, because I know they've sort of had the number of Kellam over the years, 13 of the last 14, although there was a game back in 2019 where you won at 32-24, and you did have a nice little balance out with the passing game, threw for 153 yards to go with the 262 on the ground. That game converted a lot of third downs. And I know back then you had a really good tight end in Blake Barnes who stepped up and helped keep drives alive in that win over the Marlins, which if you get one on Saturday can be a real boost in this playoff situation where you're right now sitting in at the number 8 slot. Bayside and Indian River, hard to believe they're 9-10 because those two teams have played Oscar Smith and Green Run last week. Very, very close. But your region, 1 win, 1 loss, you can go from 2-9 or 9-2 in the blink of an eye, can't you?
I mean, it's crazy. The Beach District this year, you have Green Run, who is obviously having a great season again. But then the rest of all the other 10 teams are all kind of right there in the same spot. And from week to week, man, it's a battle. People talk about strength of district and strength of anything. I guarantee you there ain't a game in the Beach that anybody takes for granted. You got to come out and you've got to play your best. Bayside's a great team. They've got a very athletic quarterback. They've got very good running backs. Some of their receivers I've watched on film make some exceptional plays. They fly around on defense. It's going to be a challenge. We're looking forward to the challenge, but they're a good squad. I think we're improving, and we're a pretty good squad, and it's going to be a heck of a battle Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it should be. I'm looking forward to it there. It's a little Saturday afternoon football. Let's hope the weather's been good, because I know there's been some strange weather situations we've had with the rain and the wind. It actually moved the Beach schedule from playing you haven't had a lot of Friday games this year, it seems like, Coach. It feels like most of them have all been going on Thursdays, or you've had a Saturday, a Monday deal, this type of. It's been a Tuesday week. We had some games, so it's been kind of shifted all around everywhere. How have you managed that, A, and then I'll get to the follow-up with it, but how's that been for the kids as far as, I know they look forward to Friday Night Lights, and it's a lot of times out of your control, but how you've all managed the whole schedule scenario and the things being so unusual, if you will.
Yeah, I am not a fan of weekday games. I mean, there's a reason why we play on Friday, and I love that Friday night experience. But if you think about it, I think I played 3 games on a Friday so far out of our 6. And we're not going to play on Friday this week. We're playing on Saturday. So that'll be 3 out of 7 that we played on a Friday. Because of that rain situation with the storm that came through, we ended up playing, the Tuesday, the Monday, the Friday. That's 3 games in 10 days. And if you get a couple kids injured here or there, or a couple, things like that, you got to be able to develop that depth and get that next kid to step up, because that's tough on the high school body to have to play 3 games in 10 days. And it's tough on the old guys like myself, coming into school that after that Tuesday triple overtime game on that Wednesday was not a fun experience. And then even playing on Monday night, that next school day, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it really can be. And lastly, Coach, and we appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing your squad in action coming up on Saturday. I know you've had all these games. It feels like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games decided by literally 3 points or less. The only game that wasn't was the Green Run game, which is remarkable. And I think before last week, Ocean Lakes, every one of their games was decided by 8 points or less. So they were like in the same boat with you, as have a lot of teams when you're talking about Bayside or Cox or Kempsville or this team, Lansdowne, Salem. And you still have a few of those teams left with Lansdowne, Salem, and Cox beyond this game with Bayside. How crucial is it, A, being in close games, it's helped these young kids grow up, and B, I think you got a pretty good field goal kicker. I think Davis Funk has made about 5 field goals on the year, and going back to way back in the day when you had Brandon Pace at Kellam High School, you all tend to turn out a lot of good field goal kickers. So how much is that a big, confidence boost that if you get in a close game, you feel pretty confident your kids have been in that spot and you have a guy that can make a big kick if you need it?
Oh, absolutely. Like, without a doubt, our punter and kicker have absolutely saved our bacon for a lot of the years. I mean, Davis handles our punting and our PATs. I have 2 other kickers. Brandon Prater handles my kickoffs. And I have another kicker who all of these guys are tremendous soccer players. Dylan Bedois he's got a heck of a leg. He handles my long kickoffs and my long field goals. So we've got a mix of kickers that I can throw out just depending upon the situation. But being able to help out in the kicking game, change field position, make sure we're not making terrible mistakes in that, and keeping kids, making them drive long fields instead of short fields really, really helps out, especially in tight games.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in the Knights coming up on Saturday. Bayside High School, 2 o'clock kickoff as 2 teams jockeying to get in the playoffs in Region 5A, go toe-to-toe. And I joked earlier in the show, I was craving a big game. I finally got one that went down to the wire, because we always look forward to these games. We circle on the schedule as reporters, Coach, and they end up being blowouts. So it's a little disappointing as far as what you look for. Don't really care who wins these games. I want excitement. I want drama. I want late game. I got it last week with Oscar Smith and Indian River, a touchdown catch in the final play of the game. So if anything, I'm expecting in this game with what you've done this year, and even Bayside's had a lot of close games, this might go down to the final play, be it a kick, a pass. You never know at the end. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's going to be one heck of a game. They're a good squad. We're a good squad. We'll just see where the chips fall. Hopefully the ball rolls our way. I've already been looking at that forecast. Saturday it looks a little sketchy. I'm not liking the rain and the thunderstorm forecast, but it is what it is. Can't fight Mother Nature. We need to play in the parking lot. We'll play in the parking lot, but let's have ourselves a good game on Saturday.
There you go. Mother Nature remains unblemished on the year, and Brian Neas's Knights trying to get in the postseason. What's that?
She's undefeated.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time coming on the show. We look forward to chatting with you again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
That's the head coach of the Knights of Kellam High School, Brian Neas, with us, and we'll take a time out and come back with more and put the finishing touches on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. You're watching on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex streaming channel on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on VirginiaPreps.com. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.